depressing, like directing funerals. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests, counseling those addicted to drugs and alcohol made me feel helpless and ineffective most of the time. It was like working with those who had one foot firmly planted in the grave. My burnout point came when I tried to help a young alcoholic who was desperately out of control. One of the keys to his successful recovery was helping his high-powered and influential father recognize his own alcohol problem. The family had drug around this huge secret of his drinking like an enormous elephant that they pretended not to see or discuss. When the intimidating father stepped into my office, I had an ominous feeling like bad luck was on its way. When his brave son confronted him about his drinking, he stood up and he stormed out of my office, dragging his son's hope for recovery out the door with him. And as I sat back and helplessly watched this client slowly slip down into the abyss of alcoholism, I asked myself, did anything I do really matter? Have any of you ever had a moment like this? When you feel like you're just spinning your wheels in the mud and nothing that you say or do makes a difference? If you've ever had this experience, you're not alone. Today I'm going to tell you about 3 people who believed their efforts were in vain. These people all attempted to help a young girl who lived in one of these homes where the invisible elephant ruled. The secret her family couldn't speak about was sexual abuse, and the perpetrator her own father. Yes, you just heard me say sexual abuse, so everybody fasten your seatbelt while I lead you through some turbulent and uncomfortable territory. But I assure you, I haven't lost a passenger yet. By the tender age of 6, 2 years into the molestation, this girl had developed chronic bladder infections, a common symptom in childhood sexual abuse. These infections led to hospitalization and invasive testing procedures that mimicked her trauma. Back in her room, the terrified child found this small doll placed on her hospital bed. Did that mysterious Good Samaritan wonder if such a small measure of comfort would soothe a frightened child? As a second grader, her teacher could no longer console her constant anxiety and stress over common desk cleaner. The girl had developed a phobic reaction, becoming fearful the cleaner would get in her mouth and kill her. Orally abused children frequently fear poisoning. The teacher sent a note home to her parents saying, "Why does your daughter cry every day at school?" Did her teacher question the effectiveness of that single note for such a significant problem? By the time her teen years hit, she could no longer stand the constant battles with her father, and she found herself in a runaway shelter. Did those counselors curse their helplessness when her father refused assistance and they watched that frightened teen drag back into the deep, dark abyss of family dysfunction? Well, the true miracle is that unbeknownst to any of these people, they were helping build her ladder to freedom, rung by rung. The doll that soothed her trauma, the confrontational note that ended the sexual assaults, and the counselors with the gift of listening. They are the real reasons why I was able to begin the climb out of the abyss. Yes, the story of sexual abuse is my own, except that young girl, well, she ain't so young anymore. And if you could see this ladder in full glory, it would shoot into the sky, filled with hundreds of rungs, created from human encounters both great and seemingly insignificant. And years later, as I climbed, bearing my soul along the way, I had finally made it. And when I looked back in hindsight, I saw this magnificent ladder that gave me back my life, built out of love from our Creator's earthly helpers. My calling is to join these helpers by sharing my story for those still stranded in the abyss. And I challenge you, and I encourage you to go out and build ladders in your own special way. And never give up hope that every rung you create will lead someone someday to the very top. Now, who's going to get me down from here? All right, I guess I'm not that old yet. Last year, in the parking lot of a grocery store, I was stopped by a man I would never have recognized. He said, "I know you. You're the counselor I had back in treatment." It was the same man I had watched slip down into that abyss. Or so I thought. He went on to tell me about his 15 years of sobriety and the peace he made with his father, who had died a sober man. He said he prayed every day that his 2 young children never see him as a drunk. And with tears in his eyes and mine, he extended his hand and he thanked me for all those things I did that helped to build his ladder. Matt, the Postmaster.